Right, I'll just let a couple more people join. All righty. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you all had a good holiday season. This meeting is for the Patient Qualification and Safety Committee. Let me go ahead and bring up my presentation. If my computer would like to. Is not wanting to let me share.
Ian,
Dominic, is there any way you
Ian,
can?
yes, I will bring it on up. Give me just a moment. Okay, should be able to see the screen.
Yes. Alrighty. So again, good morning, everyone. Today's meeting is both an orientation and just kind of the first formal meeting for this committee. We're going to walk through this committee's authority, scope, expectations, and initial work, and you'll have the opportunity to decide whether you wish to participate. Next slide. Perfect. Thank you all for taking the time to be here. I want to be clear at the outset. Attendance today does not obligate you to serve. This meeting is designed to give you information you need to make an informed decision about participation. For those who choose to participate in today's meetings, this will form the basis of the initial committee and operation. Next. Cool. All right, so today's objective is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. First, we will explain the authority, scope, and responsibilities of this committee. Second, we will review and vote on the committee bylaws and the initial qualifying conditions that were passed by the legislature. Third, we want to create space for questions, discussions, and informed consent. That way everyone knows, what we're doing here, what we're participating in, and what we're kind of building together. Next slide. Perfect. So advisory committees are, they exist to bring expertise and lived experience into policy development. This structure allows individuals to contribute meaningfully, even if they cannot or choose not to serve directly on the board due to real or perceived conflicts of interest. Committees strengthen the board's work by broadening input, grounding recommendations in evidence, and ensuring diverse perspectives are represented. Next. So it's important to define the committee's authority. So the committee serves in an advisory capacity to the Medical Psilocybin Advisory Board. This meeting functions as an initial meeting for the Patient Qualification and Safety Committee. Participation is voluntary and does not obligate service. And the authorities of this committee are to recommend. It does not regulate. We provide clinical safety and policy guidance, but final decisions rest with the Medical Psilocybin Advisory Board and the Department of Health. This distinction protects both the committee and its members while ensuring recommendations remain evidence-based and transparent. Next slide. Perfect. And then the Patient Qualification and Safety Committee exists to recommend to the board qualifying conditions and clinical indications for medical psilocybin services. We recommend to the board safety, stability, and exclusion criteria. And we review and evaluate petitions for recommendations to the board to add new qualifying conditions, modify existing qualifying conditions, add, revise, or remove contraindications or exclusions. So I do want to add an important note. If you just decide to serve on this committee, it does not prohibit you from serving on another in the medical psilocybin program. The Patient Qualification and Safety Committee focuses on one core mission, protecting patient safety while ensuring appropriate access. So as long as we can maintain those, we don't mind sharing expertise with other committees. Next. All right, so just absolutely clear. We want to make sure that committee service is known to be voluntary, advisory, and collaborative. We enjoy and learn from the clinical experience, scientific knowledge, and lived experience from our members, and we value respectful disagreement, evidence-driven discussion, and clear documentation of recommendation. Next. And so now, if you wish to serve and help us out on this committee, we'll open the floor to introductions. If you wish to be considered for this committee, briefly share your name, area of expertise, sorry, and your interest in patient qualification and safety. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand. Perfect. All right, I will go ahead and recognize James Brown first. Mouse.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for your time and for this participation. I really wish everybody had a happy New Year's. Ian and Dominic and everybody, thank you so much again. My name is James Brown, and I'm a doctor of pharmacy from the University of New Mexico. I've been a very big advocate of this from the beginning. So my expertise really would be, I'm psilocybin trained from Oregon as a facilitator. So I went through a program up there in Oregon. So I'm very familiar with the laws, bylaws, patient precipitation, qualifications. Being a pharmacist, I know everything about contraindications, disease state, drug interactions, all that stuff. Safety is right up my alley. I'm a veteran who is disabled. So, that's where I'm sitting as a vet, disabled. I'm liking to represent some of that patient population. Um, that's Ian and Dominic, that's who I am. I would love to send you guys my resume if you guys need to see that. Um, I'll go from there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, James. We appreciate your expertise and your participation. I will now hear from Tara Lupo.
Just to inform you to unmute. If you've been given the right to unmute, you have to manually unmute yourself. If you could please click on the mic button to unmute yourself. Thank you.
All right. Um,
Yes, Tara, you have been unmuted on our end. If you just click on the unmute button, if you're on a computer, it'll be in the upper right of the computer. You should be able to speak at this time.
no worries, Tara. What we can go ahead and do is if you want to leave and rejoin, we can go ahead and see if that fixes things. Sometimes computers just need to be restarted. And then I'll go ahead and go to Catherine Warnock while we're waiting for her to rejoin.
Good morning, everybody. Really appreciate that we get to organize and do this. I am a licensed professional counselor in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I have been trained by Theracell up in Canada, and I've been pretty much doing this work for about 3 years now. And I even have an entire assessment I use with clients to make sure that one, that this medicine works for them, also to remove any contraindications or any situations that would be unsafe. So I have experience, I have hands-on experience, and I feel like I can contribute in that way. Safety is very important to me. It's always been important to me. I try to follow as much as possible the clinical studies that have been, in the research. I follow research um, and what's been published as much as possible. And I also, not sure how all of you are familiar with www.psychedelicinteraction.com. Kristen Spear, it's a pharmacist up in Colorado that has developed a website that allows you to put all your medications in and see what might, what needs to happen around psilocybin with any medications. And I've been requiring clients do that. So I have some experience. I'm definitely not a pharmacist, but I do have quite a bit of knowledge and experience that I would like to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Oh, sorry, go on, Dominic.
I was just going to say, it looks like Tara has rejoined, and
Perfect.
I have unmuted her. Tara, if you want to try to unmute. Okay, it looks like we're still not able to hear Tara, so we'll have to come on back. So Ian, I would go on ahead to the next individual.
Kate Hawk.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name's Kate Hawk. I'm in Santa Fe, and I've been involved with psychedelics professionally for quite a while. I've been a MAPS member since the 1980s. I've been a trauma therapist since all that time as well. I've worked on the Navajo Nation in Arizona before moving to New Mexico. And also have a range of experience from doing harm reduction at Burning Man. I've been a ketamine-assisted therapist for quite a while. I've done the Colorado Natural Medicine facilitator training there. And my focus these days is death and psychedelics, especially with end of life. So I'll be actively involved with the end of life committee, but I'm also very interested in safety. I feel like balancing safety and access is essential, to the success of what we're doing. And we have quite an opportunity to be a model. A lot of different states are looking at us. So I'm happy to contribute, and that's an introduction. I really appreciate how this whole process has been focused, as well as inviting people's participation. So, and Ian, you're just doing an incredible job. Dominic, I'm not used to feeling so confident in government and regulation, but I really, really appreciate how well this is being done. Thank you.
Thank
Of
you.
course. Thank you. All right, Ann Metz.
Oh,
No worries.
she,
And
yeah.
we can go to Gregory Evans while we're waiting for her to rejoin. If we do have more issues with people joining and you're just unable to speak, Dominic put it in the chat, but you can go ahead and just leave your introduction there. Still gonna look over it. I'm not gonna blame you for technical difficulties. That's not your fault. Um, but yeah, I will still accept your introduction. Still happy to meet you, even if it has to be through chat. But I will yield to Gregory Evans.
Thank you. Is my mic working?
You
Excellent.
are
Thank you.
you are Greg.
Good to see everybody. What a day. The first committee. My personal position is coming from an independent researcher stance. I have become very, very interested in genetics, analytics of biomass and the way that behaves with people, and analyzing dosage and practice and protocol and all of the things that come around, like harm reduction and proper usage. And proper, I mean, like that could be like, let's put all the definitions down of what proper could be. As far as patient qualification and safety, I just want to be a part of the peanut gallery here. I have plans to primarily contribute to research and continuous improvement, dosage administration and clinical practice, propagation committees. But I think all of those things kind of weave together, and I'm happy to be a vessel to transfer information around the larger ecosystem and make sure that, like as we get into propagation, part of the compliance measures force for testing that feed into dosage administration and applications for patients with specific qualifications and such. So I'm just here as like a research nerd that probably has too much information to share. And I yield.
We appreciate all research. As a bit of a research nerd myself, I'm happy to have you. I will now yield to James. I'm gonna mess this up. Hoslove.
Thanks, Ian. Yes. My name is James Hoslove, and I'm from Arizona, and I'm a pharmaceutical scientist with a training background in biochemistry and medicinal, and I really focus on psychoactive substances. In my professional realm, I have worked in clinical trial research operations along with preclinical environments using animal models. And I feel I have a strong emphasis on patient protection and protocol fidelity. And I think this committee is absolutely incredible because in order to obtain and achieve access, we need data. And I think in order to obtain data, we have to have clear safety protocols in line. So I think that this committee can help define clear evidence-based qualifications, exclusion criterion, and specifically, I'm interested in potential medical and psychiatric risk stratification along with medication interactions that potentially could happen when dosing with psilocybin. So I think that this is a very important realm that needs to be taken with extreme care and caution, but it's a very exciting time. So thank you very much for listening to what I have to say, and I look forward to meeting and chatting with everybody.
Thank you so much. It looks like we have Senator Steinborn next.
Indeed. Good morning, everybody. And thanks for hosting this committee today and creating it. I do not have a clinical background at all, but I'm very interested in the safety issue. I think this is probably, well, one of the most important, if not the most important committee, just to make sure we kind of get it right and have the right parameters in place. I'm also interested in issues of safety even beyond the program, but in psilocybin that's out there, and I think there might be an appropriate space for the program and the Department of Health to be putting out some good information to the public on that. I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but Yeah, so I really don't know if it's appropriate or not. Just kind of want to be in the room and be a party to the discussions and listen and contribute where I might. I'm also trying to pay close attention to what other states are doing and doing my own research. So might be additive on occasion, but very, very interested in. And so if appropriate, I'd love to be in the room and be on the listserv and join in on occasion. Thanks.
Of course, we appreciate all input. And then if Anne got hers working, she is next.
Oh, great. Thanks for your patience. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be here. I'm Dr. Ann Metz. I'm a licensed professional counselor here in New Mexico. I live in Taos, and I have over 12 years of clinical experience, including extensive work with behavioral emergencies in emergency room settings. I currently serve as clinical faculty at Southern New Hampshire University and as a clinical facilitator at Numia Healing in Colorado's regulated psilocybin program. My training is in psychedelic assisted therapy, and it includes specialized certifications through Fluence for psilocybin and ketamine assisted psychotherapy. I've also done the MDMA training for PTSD through MAPS. My clinical research and clinical interests center on grief work and navigating life transitions, which has really deepened my commitment to patient safety protocols in psychedelic medicine. My work in Colorado's program has shown me what functions well within a regulatory structure and where improvements can be made. So I'm just here to help New Mexico build a safety framework that balances access with clinical rigor that ensures both patient safety and therapeutic efficacy. And I really appreciate the opportunity to contribute to the committee. Thanks.
All righty. Well, thank you all for speaking. If I have no one else that would like to introduce themselves, we can go ahead and move on to the adoption of the bylaws.
Ian, can we check and see if Tara is able to unmute her mic on her end now?
Yes, Tara, you are good to go if you are able to unmute.
Okay, it looks like unfortunately Tara's not able to join. Our apologies, Tara. It does look like it may just be an issue with your microphone specifically, but hopefully you'll be able to participate through the chat itself. So thank you. Ian, back to you.
She did put in an introduction in the chat.
Perfect. Alrighty. So then we can move on to the adoption of the bylaws. Let's see if I can get this one.
Oh.
Would you mind sharing the bylaws? I don't know why my computer is being frustrating.
Not a problem, Ian. I am just trying to pull it up myself. It is running a little bit slow, but give me just a moment. There we go. There we go. All right, is that visible now?
Yes. Alrighty, guys. So we will go ahead and go through the bylaws. So these are very basic kind of procedural stuff that we have to adopt as a committee. If you have spoken, you are a member of the committee. You are going to be helping us out with these patient qualification and safety things. So if you would like to vote on it, you are more than welcome. So to begin with, Article 1 just establishes Patient Qualification and Safety Committee is our name, and we'll refer to it as the committee in the document after. Its authority, it's operating under the Medical Psilocybin Advisory Board pursuant to, applicable statutes. The purpose of this committee is to ensure that psilocybin services in New Mexico are grounded in scientific evidence, appropriate safety standards, and clinically sound patient screening criteria, with the goal of protecting patient safety while promoting equitable and effective access to care. Now we'll get into the kind of more specific stuff. If you could scroll down for me, Dominic. All right, so this is going to be what we're doing. So we have to be responsible for the following: qualification, conditions, and indications. This means that we review the scientific literature, clinical data, emerging evidence, and we recommend to the board qualifying conditions or symptom clusters that may benefit from psilocybin services. This also includes periodically reassessing existing qualifications in light of new evidence or safety concerns. As I'm sure all of the experts on this board know, to Western medicine, this is a very new topic. So finding, applicable evidence and clinical data is a little bit strenuous, but we will be using that clinical data to make the program as safe as it can while still providing, the appropriate medications to our patients. Section 4.2, petitions for modification. So these are going to be coming from the patients, saying, hey, I have this condition. I think it would benefit from this. They would review and evaluate petitions to add new qualifying conditions, modify existing qualifying conditions, and add, revise, or remove contraindications or exclusions. This also means applying standardized criteria for how we're going to review these petitions, including the strength of the evidence, the risk-benefit profile, the feasibility, and the equity considerations. The next thing we have to do is patient safety and exclusion criteria. We recommend patient safety standards and exclusion criteria like medical and psychiatric red flag conditions, medication interaction concerns, and physiological and cognitive safety considerations. And we ensure that the recommended criteria align with the current clinical best practices and public health principles. Yes, it will. Will it be posted, Dom?
Once we are able to post the minutes, just to let everybody know that just due to because we have to submit any documents to our IT, and so it can take a few business days for items to be posted, but we will go ahead and submit these along with the minutes of the meeting after the comments have been received. If you look in the chat, we have asked that individuals submit their comments by Monday, January 5th. If it's possible to do that by noon, and then after that, we'll submit all of the documents to be available on the Medical Psilocybin Advisory Board Committee's websites.
Perfect.
And we'll put that into the chat before the end of the meeting.
And then the final thing that our committee has jurisdiction over is stability and readiness requirements. Recommend patient stability requirements prior to psilocybin facilitation. So that can include psychiatric and medical stability thresholds and psychiatric and medical clearance requirements. One of the things I've seen, at least as a warning on a lot of psilocybin things, is ensuring that electrolyte balances are maintained. So that would be an example of a stability threshold. Are their electrolytes balanced? What is considered balanced to the board? Things like that. Last is membership. Committee members shall be those individuals who attend and participate in the meeting. Members should reflect relevant expertise, including but not limited to psychiatry, psychology, medicine, nursing, pharmacology, public health, living experience, where appropriate. And if you are disruptive during the meeting, you may be removed. Don't come cussing at me. Anyway, for section 5.2, pursuant to the board, I was appointed as chair of this committee. And then the duties of the chair are just to convene and preside over the meetings. The meetings are going to be called as determined by the chair and directed by the board to facilitate all of our responsibilities before that January 1st, 2027 deadline. Records and reporting. We maintain minutes, records of deliberations, written recommendations, formal recommendations shall be transmitted to the board in writing and entered into the official record. And the committee shall abide by the American Nursing Association key ethical principles of autonomy, fidelity, justice, veracity, beneficence, and non-maleficence, which are basically just saying let the patient be autonomous, don't lie to them, treat all patients equally, tell them the truth, do good with what you practice, and do no harm. And then amendments can be amended by the board upon recommendation of the committee. And this will sunset once the program is implemented, and then further qualifying conditions would just go straight to the board. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns? I see Ann Metz's hand raised.
Yes, just a quick question. I know the conflict of interest was an issue with the Medical Psilocybin Advisory Board for people who might have financial interests in the program. My expectation is that I will be eventually working in this space, and I wonder if that is a conflict of interest, and if it would be more appropriate to be a non-voting member as a result, or are those conflicts of interest less important to the committees?
The conflicts of interest are less important to the committees. Basically, what's going to happen is even if there's a conflict of interest in the committees, they will be recommended to the board, which is free of conflicts of interest. So it kind of balances itself out, but it shouldn't be a problem even if you want to participate in the psilocybin program in the future.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns, discussion? Gregory Evans.
Yeah, I just put this in the chat, but if there was some way that like the people actively contributing to the documentation could have like a shared OneNote, a chat that we can like collaborate between meetings and like if there's notes that I wanted to add that could be reviewed by a committee, however, like, it's like I have some notes on qualifying conditions and what we can look at there. Like what's the best way to approach that prior to something being actually published?
Dominic, you have a good answer?
Yes, I do. So thank you, Greg. The issue with that is that everything that we do, and as far as the committees, has to be transparent. And so the unfortunate part is those kinds of sites with where you can actually share documents like that end up actually anybody can go in and make changes on them. So if there are specific documents to be reviewed, they can be sent to the program through the email that we've posted already as far as for comments. They can be sent to here and we can present them, and then they can be disseminated if necessary or posted up on the website and then reviewed and then decisions made at the next meeting. The big thing to remember is that again, everything that we do has to be transparent and so that it's available to individuals, but we also want to make sure that it's not just being changed by anybody who is going in and potentially changing or altering items without it being reviewed. So we're happy to do that. That's part of what the program will do as far as getting documents out. And then it's really up to this group as far as to make decisions and when exactly to make those decisions.
If the committee wants to discuss something, we really should do it during the course of the meeting and not specifically like in between sessions.
Correct. You have that correct.
Okay.
So
Got it.
That way things are being done transparently and open to the public.
Cool. Thank you.
And just so everybody knows, it may seem, and that process sometimes does slow it a little bit, but we really want to make sure that things are transparent and as accessible as possible. So if there are items like that, then again, we will share them as best as we can.
Is it possible for you to paste the text from this document into the chat so I can make proper notes?
Sure.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you. I yield.
Right. And then James Brown.
Just one suggestion I had, or just comment, was on the very first section where we were talking about under the purpose. Do we want to say anything about harm reduction? And also, the other thing is as we begin this, it being medical, are we referring to everything as medicine or substance? I think it's important to kind of, with that language, to make sure we, or I don't know if we want to be more Broadian or more narrow on our languaging, just to make sure we include everything like substances, or, a lot of the training we hear different wording or terminology used besides just medicine. I just didn't know if that was a thought or an idea. That was those two things I had. I yield.
So I have personally no preference for terminology. I honestly just used medicine because it's referred to within the medical psilocybin program. So I know for federal reasons we can't call it a prescription, and we can call it a substance. That just seems a little interesting. Um, Kind of sounds scary, but when you I have no preference to how we do it. If you would like to add harm reduction into the purposes of the committee, though, I would have no objection to that.
And just as a note for everybody, because this is the Medical Psilocybin Act, that is actually the other reason why we utilize the term medicine, because the statute actually does confer it that sort of confer and utilize that language with regard to the program.
And
Can I make a
James
motion
Hustle.
then
Oh, sorry.
to get that harm reduction added then, if the rest of the committee members are in agreement to that, or
Um, Go ahead and revise the purpose to include harm reduction, and then we'll vote on it as amended.
So just as a question, there's a couple places in this section that could be added in. Where would you like it? James, do you have any particular portion of it? I do have that part on the screen right now for in the purpose. Where would you like that included?
I have a question that is not related to this, but I do support harm reduction language within this documentation.
Personally, I would put it with the goal of protecting patient safety while promoting equitable and effective access to care and ensuring adequate harm reduction.
yeah, and
If
I
I
think
may,
you're right, sir.
if I may, are we? I love the term harm reduction, but are we putting ourselves at potential scrutiny from those not in the lexicon, where they'll see the word harm and assume that there is a great risk that is maybe out of scope from the reality? Is that like something we need to be concerned about, or is there language, public facing language, that could be better for that concept? Tough
Given
question.
that
Don't have an
the
answer.
Given that the Medical Psilocybin Act that was passed includes substance use disorder, ensuring appropriate harm reduction principles are applied, I think would be applicable there, as we are just ensuring that if we are going to do harm reduction, that we are going to that there are conditions that qualify right now that are doing great harm, and we're just trying to not necessarily permanently fix all the damage, but we're reducing the harm that those drugs are going to do by hopefully stopping the addiction.
And I modified the language a little bit. I did put it into the chat there so that you can see if there's questions on it.
And then James, you saw your hand up. Did you have something else to add?
Yes. Do we have an established frequency in which the committees will be meeting on either a biweekly, monthly, or quarterly basis?
So in my head, when I had originally, so right now the bylaws say subject to the call of the chair, but I was in my head thinking about once a month. That would give us time to get our exclusion criteria, our safety criteria, and those kind of things knocked out of the way pretty early. But then we can still have time to adequately react to other committees and board actions. Because if, for instance, we're setting up the qualifying conditions, right? We have to report that over to research and continuous improvement so that they can know what conditions are we monitoring and how are they efficacious and what is being treated, what are the outcomes, and that kind of thing is going to be coming out of that committee. So it's just about, I don't want to do overly burdensome often because it doesn't give us the ability to see what kind of happens with everything because there's a lot of moving parts, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you, Ian.
All right, with no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the bylaws as amended.
I'll second that motion.
I need one other person because the chair can't enter a motion.
Right.
So I need,
Can I make a motion to adopt the bylaws?
okay, cool. And then do you still second?
I can also second.
Yes.
I can second third. Okay.
All right. If I can have the board members who vote in favor of adopting the bylaws, please raise your hand on Teams.
Just as a note, in case anybody was confused, I think, Ian, you mean committee members, so those here and participating. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
anyone who introduced themselves.
And do we need to publicly speak that, Dominic, so that it reflects in the record, the recorded record?
yes, and so right now we have 8 voting in favor.
All right, we have 8 in favor, and you can put your hands down. Is anyone in objection? Zero in objection, the bylaws are passed.
Okay.
Ready? And we have one other business of the day, kind of brought it up a little bit before, which is just to define the legislative conditions. So the legislature gave us 4 qualifying conditions, but did not define them. So we need to just enter them in as ICD-10 codes, and then that should be what we have prepared for today, and we can move on to public comment. All
Okay, and
right.
Ian, it should be showing now.
Yes. All right, so whereas the Medical Psilocybin Act establishes 4 initial qualifying conditions for participation in the medical psilocybin program: PTSD, substance use disorders, end of life, and MDD, we are going to go ahead and define those in ICD-10 codes because standard practice within the US healthcare system for clinical documentation, billing, quality measurement, utilization review, and public health surveillance is the use of ICD-10 codes. So let us begin with the first one, treatment-resistant depression. I define that as major depressive disorder, F33.1 or F33.2, and documented failure of greater than 2 antidepressants. PTSD, that one was the most applicable to ICD-10 codes. It's just PTSD, PTSD, the code for PTSD. Substance use disorders is alcohol, opiate, cannabis, sedatives, cocaine, other stimulants, nicotine, and other psychoactive substance dependence. The only notable exception from this one, if you follow the ICD-10 codes, is it skips F16, which is hallucinogen use disorder. I don't believe that there's evidence that increased neuroplasticity will deter hallucinogen use, but those are the defined ones that I've provided. And then the last one, end of life related distress. We put that as palliative care status associated with serious or life limiting illness, and the ICD-10 code for that. Alrighty. Do we have any questions, comments, concerns, and discussion? James Hosobe.
Yes, thank you. I'm just reading in the medical conditions where it says substance use disorders, and this is just me being picky pharmacologically speaking, but I think other stimulants is a little redundant when we have cocaine and nicotine a part of that stimulant drug class. So maybe I'm just being too nitpicky here, but it seems a little bit redundant to add cocaine, other stimulants, and nicotine when they're all over encompassing.
I would agree. I believe I just entered them because they are separate ICD-10 codes, not because I wanted redundance. Let me see.
And we can, just so everybody knows, we can put this language, if we need to, you can leave the codes in as they are, and we can just change it to just to say stimulants and take out the cocaine and nicotine.
I would concur with that because F 14.2 is cocaine dependence, and then F 15.2 is other stimulant dependence. That's why it's in there twice. It's not that I was like, you know what?
Does nicotine not deserve its own? Like smoking cessation is like a whole industry.
Nicotine does have its own. That's F 17.2.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know why ICD-10 decided to put cocaine and nicotine as separate, but then other stimulant, I don't know. I wasn't on that board.
Maybe it's in regards to methamphetamine.
Can't you do everything?
Yeah. Yeah, I would really recommend we don't add every potential stimulant that there is.
Let's list all the designer drugs. Anybody have a copy of Tikal?
But yeah, so it's changed to stimulants. Cool. Kate Hawk.
Yeah, on the end of life distress, I know we're going to have more discussions in the end of life care committee, and this looks like a good starting place, but I'm just clarifying that, this is our thoughts for now and that there could be more discussion and modification on this as we go.
Absolutely, yeah. So these are just the qualifying conditions that were set forth by the legislature. So we are 100% able to change them and make modifications as necessary. The only thing is that we have to, approve the additional conditions. These are just kind of our baseline place to start.
Right. Yeah. So some of these things like PTSD are a really identifiable disorder, and end of life. There's a lot of different things that go along with end of life distress that maybe aren't in a really obvious category. So thank you.
Of course. And then Catherine Warnock.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of elaborate a little bit more on that same topic. There's a lot of discussion, especially in the therapy realm, about people that have end of life related distress not associated with palliative care. There are people that are crippled for different reasons, usually extreme anxiety around death. And I'm just was wondering if that's something. It sounds like that might be discussed more in the end of life subcommittee, but I just wanted to raise that as an area for consideration.
Yeah, and I would have no, I would not have put it as palliative care. It's the closest ICD-10 code to end of life distress. It's meant to be for palliative care associated with serious, so like life-threatening, but also life-limiting illness. So if you one day wake up and you need an amputation, that's going to take an adjustment period. That's going to take some grief. That's going to take some time to process. So I definitely, in my head, included things like that. However, if you do not believe that the language specifies enough, we can definitely add language for end of life because it's not my area of expertise. I definitely would defer to the end of life committee, but if you do think we need to add more now, we definitely can. This is the first, draft of what we're defining those terms as. All right. Any other discussion, comments, questions, concerns?
Oh, Ian, there's a comment in the chat. And just to let you know that yes, additional Z codes can be added, but they have to be presented, or I should say conditions have to be presented through petition process, which has not yet been set up. That'll be done as the regulations get actually approved. And this committee actually is the one who will be setting those sort of processes up, if that makes sense.
Can I plant a seed
Yes.
for failure to thrive? Being, I believe that's a condition, yeah.
That is a condition. But it's a condition
planting a
that could
seed.
apply to like even a newborn can have failure to thrive. Like
We
it's
should
all
have age
about
restrictions, but yeah.
so with regard I considered failure to thrive. My issue with failure to thrive is that it's often used by providers as a catch-all. I don't know what's going on. It's
It might
idiopathic.
I might open too much like concern.
Yeah, I'm not trying to limit who gets end of life related distress. They are experiencing something that I cannot fathom. So I definitely feel for them. If there was a better ICD-10 code that kind of limited it to them more nicely, I would pick it. I just haven't been able to find one.
If I may, what I would recommend is that the end of life committee potentially, as they get started with their meetings, that they, think about how they perceive that and what areas might be covered, and maybe submit language to this committee to say this is what we think it should be. And remember, these items can be adjusted. They are not the end all be all at this moment. This is the starting point.
All right. And where's you go? Any other questions? James?
Ian, I didn't know if ICD 10 code, the F32.9 for MDD, I didn't know if that was looked at or thought about.
I um I would have no objection to treating this, but it would have to come through a petition and added as a qualifying condition because F32.9 is for a single episode of major depressive disorder, and I don't know how that would qualify as treatment resistant if it was a single episode.
Sounds good.
All right. So does anyone want to move to adopt these initial conditions?
I move to adopt these initial conditions. This is Anne. Metz.
I'd like the second, please. It's James.
Perfect. All those in favor, please raise your hand if you are in the committee. All right. 7 votes for yes. And you can put your hand down. All those against, please raise your hand. Okay. 1 against. The initial qualifying conditions are passed. I will now turn over to the Department of Health for public comment.
Okay, and just so everybody knows, at this time, if anybody has public comment, please go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll go ahead and start taking that comment. If you are not able to speak or you would like to present comment, you can either do so in the chat or as mentioned and included in the chat before, and we'll repeat it here in just a minute. You can send it to our program email address by Monday, January 5th, and we will include it in with the minutes. And so right now I just see Kate Hawk, you have your hand up. You can unmute if you like.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just left that up after voting. So no
gotcha.
comments.
Thank you, Kate. Is there anybody who has additional public comment? Well, Ian, it does not appear. So, oh, I'm sorry. There we go. We have Greg. Go ahead, Greg.
I mean, I could talk all day. I do have a couple questions. They may be later things. But yeah, I think I understand the definition for the submission process to petition. We email like our clear statement for amendment and then review it on the next committee. If there's anything I'm missing there, please let me know.
No, you got that correct, Greg.
Cool. And then like I was really interested in this is going to be a bigger conversation between the committees on how we're handling and monitoring the dependencies with other committees. Is that obligation for an overseer from the DOH specifically to note like, hey, this needs to go to this committee for review, or these people should talk, or is that contained inside the responsibilities of each committee to communicate with each other?
So that is an administrative responsibility of the department, Greg, and that's a part of why you see several people here from the department in case as we're actually, helping with the meeting logistics. In case one person misses something, we have someone else who can pick up on that. So, but it is at the direction of the committee. So, for example, with the end of life, that recommendation on there, we'll make sure that that gets on over to the end of life chair, who is Dr. Larry Lehman. They are meeting, just so everybody knows, next Thursday, the 8th, from starting at 3 o'clock. And so we'll be doing those. So.
And then I have one last thing. Is there anything preventing the broad collection of committee members from collectively brainstorming and communicating about ideas to bring together for submission outside of these meetings? Is there can we all talk?
Yeah, anything as far as that kind of brainstorming or any of that should actually happen during committee meetings, and that would be up to the committee and to the chair to make that determination of doing a brainstorm session. But it sounds like that's something that you would kind of like. But again, from a transparency standpoint, they really need to happen during the meetings.
And then James.
Thank you, Ian. Question I had was on set and setting. Is this committee going to be addressing set and setting, or is that another committee down the road. I just wasn't sure because we were doing the qualifications and stuff, but does that fall under us or where
Set
would
and
that fall under?
setting is under the Dosage Administration and Clinical Practice Committee.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
And then Ian, just in case there are people on the phone and can't see the chat, I'd just like to say, Zach Snyder asked if they can get established deadlines and when will the subcommittees complete their roles in the process. And the response on that is each committee actually sets up their meeting times and their deadlines. And this is the first of those subcommittee meetings. And so they are all starting to have those here over the next week or so, or 2 weeks, I believe. And then we'll be working on that. There may not be established deadlines by the end of the first meeting, but I am sure after the first couple of meetings for each of these committees, they will have some deadlines put into place.
Yeah, and I already have some beginning work on like exclusion criteria and that kind of thing. I can get those sent. We can't actually discuss it, but I can say tear it up, bring it to the next meeting, and we can review it there. And yeah, that's something that we can work on. That way we are working as a group, but we're not, having deliberations that would need to be open to the public. Alrighty, well, if there is nothing left, I will adjourn. Did you have anything else, Dominic?
Just the only thing is I was just able to put into chat again. If anybody does have any additional written comments, you can send them an email to them to the medical.psilocybin@doh.nm.gov. We ask you do that by close of business on Monday, January 5th, so we can include it in all the documents and get those uploaded hopefully by the end of next week. But again, it does take a few business days for our system to get items uploaded. So just please be patient with regard to that. We will get them up as soon as possible. And that's all. Back to you, Ian.
Alrighty. Let's go ahead and
just need to set the next committee meeting.
yes. All right. Would everyone be free Friday, the 13th of February?
Is that at 9 a.m.?
Actually, Ian, that is actually something that Department of Health would not be able to do ourselves just on that particular Friday. There is another commitment for a community meeting that we have, not a psilocybin one, by the way, everyone, just a different one actually related to HIV. And so none of our health educators would be able to attend if we were to do that date.
No worries. Would you be able to do the 20th?
20th would work from
Okay.
Department of Health standpoint.
Was that at 9 a.m.?
Yes.
And just so everybody knows, the legislative session ends on the 19th at noon. So if we do it on the 20th, it would also miss that. Okay. And there's several people within the chat that are saying the 20th works.
All right. Well, with February 20th, 2026 at 9 a.m. being our next meeting, I will go ahead and call this one adjourned. The business of the day was we passed our bylaws and we passed our initial qualifying conditions. You need anything else from me, Dominic?
No, not at this time. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for a great first committee meeting, and thank you, Zach. Thank you, Ian, rather. Sorry, I was reading Zach's comment. Thank you, Ian, for chairing, and we appreciate it. And again, we'll get the documents up as soon as possible. And yes, Catherine, from a public standpoint, we do have to do the registration each time, just so that we get the appropriate attendee list. So we will be doing that. Once we get that set up, we will send it out as we did in these last ones through the constant contact, and it will get posted in the announcement section. We are going to wait on posting the next round of meetings until the committees do all get a chance to meet, simply so we can reduce the amount of email. And we will, but once these committee meetings meet, we'll get the meeting set up and we'll send out another message similar to what we did this time. And yes, the meetings are recorded, and we will post the recordings up as soon as possible as well. Any other questions? We'll try to answer them as best as we can.
Is there like a best committee? Are we going to have a little competition to see who does the best work?
I'd be down.
I'll leave that to the board.
Yeah. Can we leave in a spot of joy? This is really incredible, Ian, Dominic, Jorge, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful 2026.
Happy New Year, everybody.